In my opinion, the month of May is going to be exciting, forward-moving, and full of huge opportunities for consciousness expansion, spiritual growth, and also life, career, and relationship advancement. Now, this is very contrary to what you might be seeing out there in the other reports. And not to knock anybody, this is just Victor's perspective here, but what I oftentimes see is warning, look out for instability, abrupt change, unexpected shifts in your life. And, you know, I like to look into the astrology a bit myself, and that always makes me feel very anxious, and it has not been my experience. I think a lot of times the reports go and they look only at the surface. And a lot of times the surface is always shifting, always rearranging itself. But beneath the surface, there is order. There is a growing collective consciousness, purifying everything, helping everything realign, reconfigure itself in the best, most harmonious way. And yes, that includes you, that includes your path, that includes your life, that includes your preferences, that includes everything about you. You are not separate from this rebalancing that is taking place. And the way you experience it is completely up to you. You can, as Alan Watts says, you can relate with life with the grace of a dancer, or you can do what most people do, which is take it way, way, way too seriously. Yeah, there might be some changes. What's new? Yeah, there might be some parts of yourself you got to look at. Nothing new. But what you might find is you start to relate with life in a wiser, more conscious way. And as you do that, you will find yourself dancing with life. You will find that your manifestations come not only faster and more easily, but you get to enjoy the process. You'll find yourself being less reactive and more curious. That is the potential. That is what I see in the stars, my friend. That is what this energy update is all about. But as I always do, I'll go ahead now and break this down into 3 more specific and grounded themes for the month of May 2026. But before I do have kind of an exciting announcement, which I'm happy to share with you. For the first time in 5 years, I'm actually taking on coaching clients. For the longest time, I took small groups of people through a transformation process that I sort of acquired from testing and experimentation, just having worked with so many one-on-one clients and running retreats. I came up with this transformational arc that I would take people through, but I haven't done it in like almost 5 years. But I'm doing it now. I'm looking for 20 people who want to coach with not only me, but also my wife, Patty, who has her own power to bring to the table. It starts at the end of this month. And if you're interested in learning more about this process and what it can mean and how it can benefit you, I'll leave a link right down below this video. You can check it out. And there's a little information video and you can just see if it aligns. No pressure, just figured I'd announce it to you guys since some of you reach out and ask about coaching, and now there is a chance to work with me if that's something you want to do. So with that said, I'm happy to have you all here, and I'll see you in the video. Theme number 1, understanding. And this is exactly why I think a lot of you will have a very positive, relatively smooth experience this month. It's because you might find that you're able to see the lesson underneath the circumstance. And through this, you can understand it from a different perspective and then therefore relate with it very, very differently. I remember, for example, one time I was drinking ayahuasca and it was my 2nd cup. And I remember I went out, we drink in Costa Rica, and they're under this nice maloca, and there's this lawn area where you can kind of go and sit for a little while. And I drank my 2nd cup, and rather than going back to my bed, I wanted to kind of stretch my legs. So I went and I hung out by on this patch of grass and just kind of looked up at the stars. And I was contemplating my intention, what do I want to go into this time? It's a new cup, a new journey. And I thought to myself, unconditional love would be nice. I often will have very shadow worky type of intention. So I thought, I'm going to switch it up. Unconditional love. And then I heard in my head this voice that said, what about fear? And I was like, that felt like the voice of ayahuasca. And I just had a feeling that was going to be the theme. And sure enough, it was. And I went back to my seat. I became very afraid, just filled with fear, scary, very like creepy looking visions. And eventually, initially I was resisting this, thinking like, why can't my intention be fulfilled? Why can't I have unconditional love? This is not fair. Ayahuasca, you're supposed to honor my intention. I was like debating, arguing, resisting this powerful medicine being. And eventually what that did is that caused the fearful visions to become more and more and more bizarre and peculiar looking. And eventually I realized that my resistance is what was sort of creating this effect. And I caught myself, and I kind of just in the moment made a choice to kind of step back and take a breath and kind of reestablish the way I was perceiving this. And as that happened, the fearful like vision, they kind of died down. And then it was almost as if these visions, which were coming for me at the time in the form of like faces, they had kind of this like silly, goofy, like I can't really articulate it, but it's kind of like this, that kind of look. And what I picked up from it was like, this is just what I look like. This is just what I am. It is only you that chooses to label me as scary, bad, shouldn't be here. But really, all I am is a valid expression of life. And then after that moment, my experience with at least that day, my fear was completely transformed. And I realized just how much my own perspective influences my experience, how things look, how things feel, how things play out. But as you start seeing the lessons that life is trying to help you out by teaching you underneath the changes and the circumstances and the things keeping you up at night, you might start asking yourself, why is this happening? What is the lesson? And you might start getting brand new answers. And with these new answers comes a brand new perspective, which can completely transform the way you roll with life. And as the great Marcus Aurelius said, what you might find is the obstacle is the way. The challenges are what you need to grow, to become more intimately connected with who you are, more self-aware, more self-empowered, more conscious. And then you get to, it's not some fleeting thing that you're just hoping, like you're hoping for good astrology for the week so you have a good week. It's like what you're gaining is something that is lasting. Throughout the rest of your life, you'll get to go through it with a broader, wiser, more balanced perspective. And even though everyone might be kind of panicking and resisting the changes, you might find that you're not as much. You might find you're like the dancer, handling it with grace, curiosity, trust. Wonder what this means, huh? Problem here, wonder what that implies. Wonder what hidden benefit lies inherent within this situation. Theme number 2, deep, 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 deep healing opportunities are available. That's another reason I think y'all are going to have a different time. I can see if people, I know what I've experienced, like the beginning of a purge, which is ultimately very nice and liberating, but the beginning of it can feel like an internal pressure. Like old emotions from your past are creeping into your mind and body and psyche, and they're making it difficult to feel relaxed and good and happy and trusting and all that good stuff. And you might find that like they have like an influence over you. But that usually means that you're about to go purge, go release something that is much, much deeper than it will initially feel. And if you watch videos like this, it means you are going through a spiritual awakening. And your spiritual awakening at some point, if it hasn't even already, will take you to oftentimes very surprising depths. Your issues, your core wounds extend a lot further than you probably thought. A lot further than even oftentimes modern psychology will tell you. You know, Freudian psychology basically postulates that you're a blank slate when you come in as a baby. And all of our neuroses, all of our issues, our conditioning is something that's laid upon us from the moment we are born. But there's a lot of other science, a lot of other experiences that say that is just a very little itty bitty tip of the iceberg. That there are even studies that show that a lot of us are influenced by the birthing experience, which none of us remember consciously. And yet you might find yourself purging some of that trauma, some of that residue. People talk about past lives, parallel incarnations, ancestral trauma. I went through like 3 or 4 years where I was purging a lot of stuff from like my grandfather. Like I would have these huge waves of emotion that had no real context in my life. They made no sense. For example, grief. I spent years grieving a child I never lost, but the feelings were the exact same. I would find myself literally bawling my eyes out in absolute wretched agony, as if that happened to me, but it hasn't. But my grandfather lost a child when he was 10 years old. And, my grandfather started drinking in the middle of his life. And what I picked up is grandpa never really processed any of that. And then it was passed on to my mom, and my mom passed it on to me. And, here I am, purging some of it. It was very confusing, but ultimately very healing, very cathartic. And, these healing cycles, they leave you, what they do is they create space within yourself, and they allow you to reclaim like parts of your essence that have been buried underneath this like residue, this trauma, this energy. And once you get to reclaim it, it's like reclaiming, it's like the best thing in the world. It's like a Christmas present you forgot to open, and you find out, oh, look at this. But it's you. It's like the most profound gift of all. Bashar always says, nothing you ever discover about your truth is going to upset you. Nothing at all, period. It's all God. It's all oneness. It's all eternity. It's all love, essentially. And this month might, you look out in the world, it's hard not to feel a little anxious about like, where's the world going? What are going to be the repercussions of AI 10 years from now? What's going to happen with the economy? What the hell is going to happen with these egotistical government officials, with their bombs? Like, what the hell? Like, it's very easy to get like extremely worked up by all this. But at the same time, you might find that you might have no choice but to find that the only way to find stability and peace is through your own perspective. It's through your own healing journey, which luckily you're already pretty darn good at. This is something you do naturally. This sort of era we're living in, that yes, might really create a lot of unrest in a lot of people. It's something you just happen to be excellent at. Like rolling with changes, letting your intuition guide you, gleaning the spiritual significance of whatever surface problem is unfolding in your life. This is something you just do, and you probably have been doing for quite some time. This is also a month of reclaiming your power. Back in 2016, I went through a phase very similar to this, where everything was kind of up in the air. It was a prolonged period of like reorientation of my entire life situation and identity, just living with like bombarded with uncertainty pretty much at all times with no end in sight. It was quite maddening. And what I found is that for the longest time, I kept waiting for the astrology to shift. I would have waiting for clarity. I kept waiting for answers to come from out there. I was waiting for something to happen, an opportunity to fall into my lap. And then the longer I waited, the more more shaky my circumstance became. And eventually, I just had this feeling that what I'm looking for is not probably going to come in time for like what I need to happen in my life. So even though for a long time it seemed to suit me and benefit me to kind of wait, go with the flow, follow the synchronicity, at that time, and I decided to just sort of take life into my own hands and to kind of look around at my life and ask myself, what do I want different? What do I want to be different? What doesn't serve me anymore? What would I like my life to look like? And I just started making it happen. I just started taking action every single day. Stopped waiting, started doing, stopped thinking, started acting day after day after day after day after day. And then that was exactly what I needed. That was my lesson at that time. My lesson was I've outgrown the spiritual training wheels. I don't need them anymore. I can ride a bike just fine. I just didn't know that. I needed life to get a certain way so I could prove that to myself. I could show myself my power, that when I'm backed into a corner, I can rise to the occasion. And this month is very similar to that from what the people I've talked to and what I've gleaned and what I'm experiencing. A lot of uncertainty and a lot of maybe you've been waiting for a long time. But what I've learned is that sometimes the universe is waiting on you. It's not going to enable us any longer with these illusions of disempowerment. All of us are much more capable than we might realize. And life will sometimes give us the exact series of circumstances to prove that to ourselves. And that will give you a sort of confidence and the ability to sort of dance with life, as Alan Watts likes to say. And a lot of times what stops people and what stopped me is just not knowing how it's going to all go, not knowing where to start. And what I found is that we don't have to know. We don't have to know, but there's usually a move to make. There's always something to do. There's always like a card to play. And it can feel, sometimes we put pressure on that card because it seems like our last card. And you play that card and it doesn't work. And you're like, oh. Then you wake up the next day and there's a new idea, a new card to play. And as long as you keep playing your cards and not storing them in a drawer where they're collecting dust, it's just a matter of time. Sometimes it's about like holding your frame. It reminds me, me and my wife, we're like super into the show Landman right now with Billy Bob Thornton and his wife. His wife and his daughter like to take visits to like retirement homes and like take all these people living there out and like party and give them a good time. And they took this whole group of people, this group of 85 plus year old senior citizens to the casino. and they're playing, what is it, craps? Is that the name? Where it's like you can the little ball spins around. It can either be black or red or on a number. Anyway, this woman who's a real fireball, this Billy Bob Thornton's wife in the show, real fun, kind of interesting personality. She said, you know how you win this? You play one color and you stick to it. And so she put a $100 bill down. She said, I'm betting on black. And the thing spun and it was red. She's like, $300 on black, red. $1,000 on black, red. She got up to I think $6,500. And she just kept losing one after the other. She was probably 10K in the hole. She just kept saying black, black, black. And eventually she won. And they're like, okay. Everyone expected her to kind of walk away. And she said, let it ride. Again, she doubled it. She ended up, it's a TV show, obviously, but she walked away with $300,000 because she stuck to it. So you might play a card and it's just not going to always, it doesn't mean it has to work the first time. But if you just keep playing that card, if you just keep going, you keep playing, doing your moves, doing your thing, life has to respond. You are more powerful. Your will is that powerful. I know it can seem like almost an egotistical thing to think that, but don't discount what you come from, what you're made of. You're made of the one. When you align your thinking and your actions and your divine will, even though the universe won't immediately reflect that choice of where to put your attention and energy, it will eventually. And in doing so, you realize wow, I could have been doing this a long time ago. What else do I want to do? In going through that experience back in 2016, that's exactly what I learned. And that gave me this sort of curiosity to learn things that in the past I would have never thought I could learn. For example, guitar. I was said to be tone deaf. I can't sing. Simple things like finding the rhythm in a song was something that I just did not understand. My entire family is all musically inclined. and I felt like a total musical idiot around all of them. But because I had this sort of experience, I decided one day, in fact, it was the eclipse like a year and a half ago, like I don't know, it was like about a year and a half ago. It was like during the day, if you remember, when the entire sky actually went black and people went out there with the glasses. It was that day, for whatever reason, I said, you know what, screw this. I'm going to learn how to play guitar. And sure enough, I went out and I bought a guitar, and it was very hard for me. In fact, my kids all started learning alongside of me, and they were learning so much faster than me. But I would play every single day, like an hour a day, sometimes more than that. I hired a teacher, and to this day, I've been playing every day for about an hour a day. And I'm not amazing, but I'm pretty good at guitar now. And it was something that seemed impossible. And during that journey, there were so many times I wanted to quit. So many times I was just frustrated. So many times I thought, this is never going to happen for me. But you know what? I've learned that those days, they don't last forever. You might be having a bad day right now. Fine. You know what? Tomorrow's another day. And if that's bad, you're due for a good day. As long as you don't stop playing those cards, putting in the energy, you will get where you want to get in life. And the real prize is not the manifestation. It's not the business, not the career, not the house. It's knowing your power, knowing that you can apply that to anything else for the rest of your life. This month is all about showing you that your life is and has always been in your hands. And luckily, it's in very good hands. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. Once again, if you're interested in working with me, having me and my wife as your personal coach, I'll leave a link down below. Check it out. No pressure, just check it out. There's a video that explains everything. And if it aligns, you can apply, and then you'll get on the phone with my wife. And then maybe I'll be working with you as of late this month. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I wish you all an amazing month, and I'll be back in a couple of days with a brand new video. Peace.